economic way, much more, much faster than in any large economy except China. Like 20 years back, the per capita income used to be $600, and now it is $2,000. So we have more than tripled our GDP and per capita income. But in spite of this economical growth, what we have achieved in terms of happiness is very little. If you see that there are still, number of suicides, the cases of depression, the divorce rates, they all are increasing. And according to the 2020 year report of United World Happiness Report, India ranks 144 out of 156. So there is a disconnect between all this. The feedback from the young working population is that they are not able to create a life work balance. It's not that they don't understand it conceptually, they do understand it, but they are not able to implement it. Why? What's the problem? One outcome of this modern day fast life is that we are compelled and happily we take pride in multitasking. ये भी कर लिया, वो भी कर लिया, everything. I supposedly I am also doing multitasking. This is a example. But then evidence has data and research have clearly shown that the reality is that the human mind cannot multitask. If you argue, if we argue that while driving we can talk on the Bluetooth and talk on the phone, there's enough of research and evidence that the human mind is distracted. And where are the distractions? Are they outside or are they inside? Now, there's a research scientist, Dr. Neer Ayal. You can go and search for him on the internet. Now, he has done extensive research work on this topic, and he has published a book also, which shows that how much we feel that the distractions are outside in the form of phone calls, emails, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. He has shown through his research that the distractions lie very much inside. And to just to prove my point further, I would like to ask you a question. How many thoughts do we have daily? A person, how many thoughts does he have on a daily basis? You can think about it, then we can see the answer on the next slide. So for an average human being, there are 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day. So it's very evident, it's no big deal to understand that since so many thoughts are there in a single day for a human being, the distraction lie inside only, not outside. And coming to the Internet of Things, regarding the topic I have taken for the talk is that is the Internet of Things. That is the internal machinery that we have, and the inner, you can say, a software that helps us to take decisions, to make choices. So if we just think about it, that if it is the inner software that we have on which we are dependent, and that software is flooded with thoughts, and to regulate that software, to make it virus free, to see that there is no virus entering into that the software, and in spite of all those multitasking, so many thoughts, we have to make choices. And if you see, these choices and decisions lead, small choices lead to a long, the end result of a life product. What is life? It is but dependent and built on a series of choices and decisions. So if we compare choices made from a regulated mind versus unregulated mind, choices from a deep state of stillness versus cluttered mind, choices made from feeling from the heart versus being insensitive. So it is a no-brainer to think that the choices made from a regulated mind will be better as compared to a unregulated. Now, this is a quote from the great Maharishi Swami Vivekanand, he said that it is good and very grand to know the laws that govern the stars and planets and to conquer the external nature, which man has done to a large extent, especially in the past century. But he said it is grander still to know the laws that govern the passions and feelings and to conquer the inner nature of man, the inner net of things. And we all know that the when we have to work inside, that there is something that is to be worked upon is inside. For that, we don't have, you know, to work outside. We have to sit quietly, contemplate, introspect, and to meditate. What does meditation does is it helps you to increase your focus, regulate your mind, and it also allows you to recognize that you, your family, and your friends, everyone is important. If not more important, they are equally important. Their health, their well being, their progress in any terms, physical, mental, economical, spiritual. And this COVID pandemic has just shown that all of us are interrelated, and all of us, and that the well being is of everyone around us is important, because I cannot have good health and progress in isolation. We have to have this concept collective. So all these things regarding meditation we know from a very conceptual basis, but then the Western mind thought of putting this to test, and there has been, just to show you that there has been rising scientific attention from the number of researchers on meditation published from 1995 to 96. What is that this inner net, that this inner nature is made up of, what makes us happy, or how we take our decisions, what are the things that you know uh, that goes on in our brains to make us behave differently, each person behaving differently. So there are some neurotransmitters like dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. These are feel good hormones which make us feel happy, and they're usually secreted in the brain when you hug your loved ones, when you play with children, when you go and achieve some goal, when a task is completed, or with in athletes, in marathon runners, in cyclists, by consumption of you say marijuana and meditation. So these all researches occurring that what all things and what all hormones and what is the effect that is happening. And of all these researches, there has been growing scientific evidence that yes, meditation works. There have been various modalities in form of fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging. There has been EEG brainwave mapping. There has been genetic research effect of meditation on the genetic material, genetic length that we have, and the various hormones like cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone which is secreted in our body. It is also known as the stress hormone, which is secreted during stress. And when a person is chronically under stress, the cortisol levels increase up. So there have been various studies conducted on these modalities, not including to them. There are other also. Like for example, if we do meditation, the person who is meditating on a long-term basis, his cortisol levels are very much on the lower side as compared to a person who is not meditating or who is subjected to severe stress. One of the studies that I would like to quote is from Sara Lazar. She's a neuroscientist from America. And she, in her research and presentation, told that the shape of our brains can change during meditation. So this was a very revelating study and research from her side. Matlab, can you imagine that just by sitting quietly you know, in a room and meditating for a few moments for a short period of time, it can actually cause structural changes in our brain. So what she did was she took a group of volunteers and asked them to meditate once in the morning and once in the evening, 2 times a day for a total duration of 8 weeks, that is 2 months. This was the research protocol, and before starting this meditation program for 2 months, she did her MRI brain, and she subjected them to the various stress tests and empathetic tests to know their compassionate levels. Now, what she noticed, what she wanted to observe in the MRI is that there is one structure known as amygdala. You don't have to remember, don't get disturbed by this medical. It's just there is a structure that is known as amygdala in the brain, which is responsible for a fight, fright, or flight mechanism. Suppose if a lion comes in front of us, and we naturally come in the mode of either fighting with the lion or the running with the lion. And the end result of that is the pupils of our eyes get dilated. There is increase in blood pressure, heart rate. The blood flow is directed to our muscles, so that we are either preparing us either to run or to fight. So this is the role of amygdala, and this is required also. This is the normal response. But if the size of the amygdala is larger, we will be having these reactions to normal situations of life, like driving, which are not as much stress inducer as if we are put in front of a lion. So what she did was she did the MRI of brains and subjected them to 2 months of meditation. To be noticed, it's just 8 weeks of meditation, not a lot, long time. And after 2 months of meditation, she again performed the MRI of brains, and she again performed the stress test and the empathetic test. The results were astounding. You can see on the screen, the red point in the brain is where the amygdala is located. And if you can see the right chart, on the x-axis is the change in stress, and on the y-axis is change in amygdala. So as the size of amygdala increases, which was known by MRI, there is increase in stress. And smaller the size of amygdala, smaller will be the stress. So after this 2 months of meditation program, the amygdala size of the meditators, the volunteers, was reduced, meaning they perceived less stress. Now there is a concept known as perceived stress. That means suppose there are two students who are going to exam. Now the exam, the stimulus of the exam as a stress is similar to both of them, but the perceived stress. One student, becomes very stressful, starts has palpitations, starts having sweaty hands, loses his focus. Whereas the other student is calm, he is able to maintain his focus, maintain his calm and composure, perform well. So the stimulus was the same for both of them, but they performed different. So this is perceived stress. So even in perceived stress, it showed that with the reduced size of amygdala, the perceived stress was less. That means if when someone is going in driving, now the person with a smaller amygdala will experience less stress as compared to a person with larger stress. What I mean to say is that we have an inner net of things. There are various hormones, chemical structures, neurotransmitters, brain regulating areas, which all have an impact on us, on our life, how we behave, how we react, and our long term happiness and health, and prevention of diseases like diabetes and hypertension and so on. So, this was in short that I wanted to tell. Now, uh, Mr. Kamlesh Patel is a guide of heartfulness meditation. He has said that one speck of experience is worth tons of knowledge. So I can go on talking about this, the researches and the evidence that has been done on internet, but then uh, the shortage of time, and let's go ahead with meditation. Just one point more, that along with meditation, uh, there is a concept known as decluttering. You must be aware that there is what decluttering is. So much of emphasis is being led nowadays on the concept of decluttering, especially in the management programs. So even if we are able to, meditate, if we are able to meditate daily, or we are able to schedule, but if we are not able to declutter our lives, our schedule, and every time we are distracted, and mind you, this distraction is inside, not outside, and if we keep on getting distracted by each, ping, your WhatsApp, Facebook, email, it is very difficult or rather impossible to do a deep creative thinking at work, and deep creative thinking work which leads to, putting our all effort in one endeavor and coming out with a, a good end result which makes us satisfied. If we don't go through that whole process, somewhere we feel there is something lacking inside, and we are not able to deliver what we want to deliver and what is expected from us. So this was on the external level, what I'm talking about decluttering. There is something decluttering regarding on the mental, emotional, and spiritual level also. If we keep on meditating each every day, even if we keep on meditating, but if we are not able to declutter our mental, emotional, and spiritual aspect, we won't be able to harness the complete full potential of meditation. Now, since we have got only 1 day, 1 hour of on this heartfulness meditation, but actually the whole heartfulness meditation comprises of 3 steps. There are three meditation sessions that we have to take on 3 days. That is the complete program, but unfortunately today we have only 1 day. So I'll just explain in short what are the three uh, aspects of heartfulness meditation. First is relaxation and meditation, which we will be experiencing today. The second is decluttering technique of meditation, uh, which is very essential to the and is a core practice in heartfulness meditation. And the third aspect is prayer, and prayer helps us to connect with ourselves. So after the meditation, I'll be going in detail how you can continue the practice and uh, have those 3 sessions of meditation with our trainers. But before that, just a bit of heartfulness organization. It's a non-profitable spiritual organization. It was established in 1945, and 2020 we are celebrating its 75th year of establishment. It is present in more than 120 countries, and it has been recognized and acknowledged by the United Nations for its efforts in uniting humanity. And along with United Nations, we are also conducting All India Essay Writing Competition for the students of schools and colleges. And it engages in activities related to lifestyle choices like wellness, education, and training that furthers the practice of meditation and our inner journey. So let us begin with this our relaxation and meditation. I'll just tell you how relaxation and meditation are done. So, heartfulness meditation, when we sit for meditation, we'll be having the practical experience of this today. We sit comfortably and relax ourselves with eyes closed and think that divine light is present in my heart and I am getting attracted towards it. The thought that we have with paying attention to our heart is that the divine, that the source of divine light is present in my heart and I am getting attracted towards it. This is the only maintaining this thought during the whole of meditation is what that is the procedure, that is how we meditate. There is nothing else. It is very simple. The only thing is that when we sit with this thought, every, a person experiences thoughts, other thoughts, but we don't have to get disturbed or perturbed by those thoughts. We just treat them as uninvited guests. We don't give them much attention. As if our attention drifts and we find ourselves involved in other thoughts, we just very gently bring our attention towards our heart and continue with this thought that divine light is present in my heart and I'm getting attracted towards it. Now, we don't have to imagine any candle, bulb, or light in our heart. It's a thought, it's a thought based meditation. We are thinking that yes, the divine light is present. So, this is the thought which we have to maintain till we hear a voice, that's all from our side. And the thoughts that we'll have during meditation, I have told you that we don't have to give them much attention. We have to just divert our attention again towards our heart. Now, a very unique aspect of heartfulness meditation is transmission, which we experience during meditation. To understand, transmission is a flow of divine energy which we will experience with the help of a trainer, which transmits this divine energy. And for that, we have with us Dr. Yamini Karmarkar. She's a trainer of heartfulness meditation. So this is the whole process of heartfulness meditation. And before that, we will do heartfulness relaxation, which helps us to prepare for meditation. It's on a physical level. I will just give commands, and and you have to just follow it. It's a relaxation technique where we relax our body starting from our toes going up towards the heart and then bringing our attention towards our heart. So I'll just request everyone to, if they can switch off their phones for half an hour during which this meditation will last. And if they can remove their footwear to feel comfortable, they are they can. It's preferable that they remove their footwear. Dr. Yamini, you are there?
Yes, I'm here.
Dr. Yamini?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here. Namaste, everyone.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, if everyone is ready, we will start with the heartfulness relaxation. I will once again repeat that uh, heartfulness relaxation and then followed by meditation. There will be no gap, no interval between relaxation and meditation. Once the relaxation is over, we will directly go into the meditation. And when we hear the voice, that's all, only then we will open our eyes and end our meditation. So, if everyone is ready, please close your eyes, sit comfortably, and relax. Prepare yourself, mentally prepare yourself to relax. Let's begin with your toes. Move your toes a little. The energy from the Mother Earth is going upwards through your ankles, up to your knees, making them relax. The energy is moving upwards to your thighs and making them relax. Your hips and buttocks are getting relaxed. Both your legs are completely relaxed. Bring your attention to your lower back and let it relax. Any tension that you are holding there is melting away. Bring your attention to your upper back and let it relax. Bring your attention to your abdomen and let it relax. Breathe in and let go. Bring your attention to your chest area and let it relax. Bring your attention to your shoulders and upper arms and let them relax. Your elbows, forearms, wrists, and up to the fingertips all are getting relaxed. Both your arms are completely relaxed. Bring your attention to your neck muscles and let them relax. Any tension you're holding there is melting away. Bring your attention to your lower jaw and let it relax. Your facial muscles are getting relaxed. Your ears, nose, your lips, all are getting relaxed. Your eyes are closed softly and very gently. Bring your attention to the crown of your head and let it relax. Your whole body, from the crown of your head to your toes, is completely relaxed. Feel that you are feeling very light. Now gently bring your attention to your heart and let it stay there for a while. Now have this thought that divine light is present in my heart and I am getting attracted towards it. The divine light is present in my heart and I am getting attracted towards it. Stay with this thought during the process of meditation. Feel immersed in the love and light of your heart. Remain still and quiet, getting immersed and absorbed in yourself. Please continue with meditation.
I hope, sir.
That's all. Keep your eyes closed and observe your condition for some time. Observe what you experience during meditation. All experiences are valid, and each one may have a different experience. Observe yourself on a physical, mental, and emotional and spiritual level. You can note down your observations on a piece of paper. Okay, so we just experienced a practical session of heartfulness, relaxation, and meditation. And we have two more techniques to complete the complete practice of heartfulness meditation. And if we want to continue, uh, if we want to start this heartfulness meditation, we have to take three sessions from a heartfulness trainer where these three techniques will be shared with us. And after that, we can continue meditating on our own at our homes. We have the Heartfulness Institute has more than 7,000 trainers all over the world across the globe, present in more than 120 countries. And you can locate a trainer near your place of residence by visiting the website heartfulness.org. Heartfulness.org is the name of the website. Or you can also download the app from Play Store. That is Hearts app. HEARTSAPP. You can download this app and locate a trainer. And still, uh, you can also contact Mr. Weber Nima. He will get you in touch with either me or Dr. Yamini. So we have Heartfulness magazines in the digital format as well as physical format, and these are monthly magazines uh, which tell us about the heartfulness uh, activities and the practices going on. And one more thing I want to repeat again that all these heartfulness practices, meditation sessions are free of cost. There is no charge, there is no hidden fees that is charged to the person who wants to meditate. So that is for now. Dr. Yamini, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Nitin. I just want to add that for all those who have joined from Devi India University, we have a meditation room here in the university and in IMS department. So it is open for everyone in the university, all the teachers and students as well. So you are most welcome. You are invited to take benefit of this facility. That's it. Thank you.
Over to Mr. Vaibhav Nima.
Yeah, yeah. Hello. Sir, I have a doubt regarding the relaxation channels.
Yes.
The thing is that when we are going to do this kind of exercise, so it is means a confusion in mind that we are sleeping or we are in the relaxation. So how to means that is a very means difficult question. Most of the time we feel that we go into a deep sleep and we wake up and we feel that it's a relaxation. So is it so?
I like that question, especially since this is a postprandial session and people have just returned after taking their lunch. So maybe, and during the whole day of attending sessions, they must be feeling sleepy. So it's like how the question, if I'm getting it correct, is that how do I come to know whether I have slept during meditation, or was it something else that I've gone deep in meditation and I'm experiencing something? So one thing is that with continued practice of meditation, you will come to know. Second is whenever we get up after sleep, if you notice there is a bit of heaviness, uh, whereas in meditation you will never feel heavy after meditation if you have gone deep. You may feel like a sleep-like condition that you are feeling, where you're feeling and going deep, and you may get that is a very valid point. You may feel that whether I slept or was I meditating. And one point is that that's why we don't advise to do meditation while lying down, because while lying down we are more prone to go into sleep. We can have any asana, like we can sit cross-legged, alti palti marke, or if our knees, the condition of our knees is not permitting, we can sit on a chair. Any comfortable posture for meditation is allowed till you are sitting up straight. So that is for one thing, so that you don't go into sleep. And obviously, if you are tired and physically you're tired, mentally tired, then there are chances that you may go into sleep. That's why we tell that we should meditate uh, uh, early in the morning, preferably before sunrise, if not. But anytime you get up, and we are fresh and we can meditate, and then we can sleep. So that is one thing, but after sleep, there is a bit of heaviness, not exactly fresh that you feel. Whereas if we meditate, that heaviness won't be there.
So any
Mr. Vaibhav, I
participants
think
who want to ask something or
makes it clear. Yeah,
need more information regarding this, so
your questions are welcome.
yeah, you can ask the question or you can write on a chat box. So I can translate that and ask the Nitin sir. Few chats are there. Thank you, sir and ma'am, for excellent and relaxing session. So if nobody have any questions, so we will move close to this session. So thank you so much once again, sir, for joining us. And it was it's a nice experience for our meditation and others. So thank you so much from Devi India Vishwavidyalaya and IIT Devi Vedanta. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yamini ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nitin. Thank you, Weber. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.